it's easy to miss the depth and the intensity of Yet to Come's music video and the message. Uh, if you're a member of the Western media who don't really do a lot of research on BTS, if you're a casual fan or if you're a new fan that don't really understand the depth, the expanse, and the genius of their creative narrative that they have managed to uncover through their music videos through the different era, if you don't understand how they actually progress their narrative, how multi-layer, how many layers there are in every comeback, in every narrative, in every song, then it's so easy to feel like the music video is just nothing but a random set of images. But the truth is that it is not. There, it is a culmination of a 9-year narrative that they have been progressing. So but for you to understand that, for you to actually appreciate the genius in that music video, you need to understand that 9 years. And so this video, instead of a reaction, is really geared towards the Western media who don't really research a whole lot about the creatives of BTS, how they do their creatives. And this is for new fans, maybe casual fans who don't really have the time to understand the genius behind their creatives and their narratives. Okay, one is that BTS has been progressing a storyline. They actually have a narrative. Think of it as a novel that they have been progressing throughout their career, from the very first time that they launched their very first music video all the way until Yet to Come. So their narrative has been, so there's a story that they have been progressing it, and then each character has their own conflicts. It has their own progress that they have been uncovering or telling in each of their comebacks. So in each era could be comprised of usually 3 albums. It's usually a trilogy. So for example, they have the Best Moment in Life era, they have the 7 era, the last one. So it's usually 3 eras. So in each of the era, there's a storyline that progresses, and that storyline has different layers. So and is told in different ways. So there's the music video, there's the song itself, there's the album, and then usually they have books that they release, like the notes. They release that, a compilation of different diary entries that supplements the story that is being told in the music video and the album. And then they have websites that they launch, of course the photo shoots and all of those stuff. So you can't ignore any of the things that they are releasing, because that could make you understand the storyline better. So, but even if you just sort of are limited in funds and you can only watch the music video and listen to the album, you would still understand some of the storylines. But as I've said, if you consume everything, the better it is for you to understand the story. So it's not just about listening to the songs and then watching their music videos. There is an actual story that you're following. So it provides a lot of facts and a lot of elements, enough for the fans to actually supplement. That's another genius part of it, because there are open-ended elements in there that fans are actually allowed to sort of create their own theories that on the progress of the characters and progress of the story, which makes it interactive. It makes it interactive. So it's not just me watching a music video. It makes me think. It makes me participate. It exercises my creativity, because it's making me interpret some of the loose ends, some of the open-ended elements in the story. Okay, now each of the characters have a storyline that are intertwined with each other. In Yet to Come, they've actually closed the storylines. They've put a conclusion in each of the storylines. So for example, this is just an example. Suga, in the previous music videos, he was actually depressed. He was down. He wanted to kill himself. and he was hanging by a thread and expressing his anguish and his sadness through the piano, which and through music, which is his first love. And then in Yet to Come, we can actually see him standing above the piano, and it's now red, more vibrant, and he's standing above it, which means that music is now just is more than just a medium of survival, but it has actually lifted him up, and he's above all the struggles, and he has now blossomed as a person. So that's Shuya. And then there's the Jin is another good one. So in Blood, Sweat and Tears, he was actually the statue, a huge statue, actually engulfed him. So the temptation and the bad things that that statue represented, it actually ate him up. So but here we can see the statue, that huge statue, is now half buried in the sand. So those are, so you can see that in the imagery actually is a representation. They've closed the storyline. They've provided a conclusion for each of the storylines of the characters. I will not tell you each of that, how each character concluded. I'm not going to actually tell you the storyline, because I think it would still be better if you experience it with yourself. So it's better to go back through 9 years of their creatives and their narratives, watch their music videos, listen to the entire album. They always say that it is important for you to actually listen to the songs of the album in order, because the song actually progress. It's a narrative progression. There's a narrative progression in their album. So watch their music videos, listen to their albums, and then, you know, if you can, get your hands on all of the other literature that they release, because that's going to help you understand the storylines. Okay, so that's one. The album, that music video, those are just random beautiful images. They're actually concluding the storylines of each of the characters. All right, that's one. Next is that they in providing a conclusion to their characters, they actually manage to go recreate the different important elements of their past music videos backwards. So in fact, that yellow bus that you see in the end, the bus that they ran towards, that is the bus that they use in the very first music video that they launched. So in that first music video, they came out of the bus, and then now we know that it actually represents a whole lot more than just a prop in that music video. BTS has always said that they wanted to tell their story, their journey as young people in Korea, young people in Asia, outside of the confines of institutions, of social standards and social rules or whatever. They just want to be able to tell their story. It's some sort of a rebellion from the system. But now, in the last, in Yet to Come, they actually went to the bus, but it's them more confident, them evolved as people, and now they understand the bus and the system, the educational system, the social paradigms that we have, the social rules and expectations, that it depends on you whether or not you're going to treat it as a cell, as your prison, or if you're going to work towards it, if you're going to work with the elements that you're given. So now they're from the bus where they started is now the bus that's going to take them to their next destination. I hope I made sense. So again, that's not just a random yellow bus. That meant a lot to them. That's where they started, and they actually said it in the song, that this is some sort of them going back to where they started. And when they started, it's all about music and it's all about the armies, and they just want to go back to that. So and you have to appreciate just how you have to appreciate that each of the element, each of the prop that they actually use in music videos, those aren't just props, those aren't just for aesthetics. There's an actual storyline behind it. So even that seeming random yellow bus in the beginning is a huge it's a representation of an important and critical element in their storyline. Okay, so So if you actually watch it, it's actually backwards. And they're going back from the latest to the oldest, and then the oldest would be the yellow bus, and now they're starting again. Is some sort of their message. So another aside from, yeah, so it would, again, it would be better if you just go back into their music videos and actually see, oh, this is that scene from Yet to Come is the answer. It's the conclusion to this scene, or this character, or this storyline in this specific music video. Next is that even if they're saying that this storyline has now ended, that this chapter of their career has now ended and they're beginning a new one, you still need to understand that BTS has always provided more depth in what they're releasing. So this is not just a conclusion. This is actually also the beginning. Watch Jungkook's character. So remember, in Yet to Come, he was actually the one asking the rest of the group to come. There's this scene that he was telling, where he was telling the group to come, and he also opened the music video when from afar he actually saw 7 boys, and then it turned out that he was one of those 7 boys. And then another part, he was asking the boys to come to run towards something. So I don't know what this means yet, and there's a lot of theories going around what this means. But I do know that that's not just, again, not a random scene. They're starting something, they're beginning something, and that scene will most likely figure into the next storyline, or the next narrative, or the next chapter that they're starting. Next is not just, this is not within the music video, but how they decided to release the music video. At this stage, BTS, and they've done several times, that they would actually do a comeback in the West. So they did a comeback in American Music Video. They did a comeback in Saturday Night Live, and they could have very well done the same thing. They could have, and then they, at once upon a time, they actually also did a comeback in a concert. They did a comeback in a concert in the Olympic Stadium. So they could have very well done the same thing. They could have chosen a huge music show, or a huge show in the US, and do their comeback there. That would have created an international buzz. But instead of doing that, they pulled back. They actually didn't even do an international or global press conference, which they usually do in each of their comeback. They said no to all of that. They decided, nope, we're not going to do that. They did a live so that they can talk directly to armies, and they went back to Korean music video, or Korean music shows. So this, and in the song, they've said that they wanted to go back to one. And again, in the beginning, it was the army and it was their music, and they are going back to that. They decided, we're going to do our comeback in a Korean music show, which is how things are done in Korea, and they are Koreans, and that is something that they have never forgotten and have been very, very clear they're proud of. It has actually been the foundation of their music. So while everyone else is scrambling to do international releases, to do international exposure, and to have some international exposure, and to do international guesting, they're suddenly pulling back, and they're saying, nope, we're going back to the beginning. And in the beginning, it was the music and it was the army, and that's what we're all about. And they've always stayed ahead of everybody else. When everyone was scrambling to become number one in Japan and in Korea, they went number one in the US. And now that everyone's scrambling to be number one in the US, they're saying, nope, going back to our fan base. And that only tells you, it gives you a glimpse of how they are as artists, which segues into the next part of the next point that I have. I remember Paul McCartney said, actually the whole of the Beatles said, that the reason they stopped touring, because in the midst of all the global fame, global success, all the money that has been coming in, they realized one thing: they're becoming mediocre musicians, they're becoming mediocre artists. And so they said, we need to shut off all the superficial things that come with their success, and actually go back to the basic and test ourselves. Are we becoming better artists, or are we becoming mediocre artists because we're getting too much intertwined with and too full with all the international commercial success and all the money and the recognitions that we're making. Let's test ourselves. Let's go back to just the studio and start creating music and see what we've got. Are we still the artists that we were once aiming to be? And to me, that was a clear message from BTS. Instead of doing global press conference, they went to do a live in with the armies. Instead of doing a comeback in a Western show, they decided to do a comeback here in a music show in Korea. Instead of doing another danceable pop song that everyone can dance to and that could be the next trend in TikTok, they decided, nope, we're going to pull back because we have a message to tell the armies. And the message is this, that we're going back to where we came from, and that is music and armies. And I thought that is a huge clue. It's a huge, it's a clear message, clear proof that BTS are indeed artists, because now they've experienced they know how it is to be on top of the world, and they're saying, yeah, that's great, but we're artists. We're artists more before we're celebrities, and we want to test ourselves and see what do we really have. What do we really have? Let's see what we've got. Go back to the basics, and you just have to appreciate them for that. You just have to recognize them for that. The other thing, and probably the last thing, is that I know there's something coming. I don't know what it is. They've said that there's something coming. They said that this is chapter 2 of their career. But I do think it's going to be a really different kind of BTS. I don't know. The J-Hope headlining Lollapalooza, it's a huge thing. Before they said that they are not looking into doing any solo projects, which they have done. They've done solo projects. It's just not something that they earn from, but they've done solo projects in the past. Their mixtapes are actually full albums. It's just that it's free. They give it for free to everybody else, and then they've never promoted it in music shows. But now that J-Hope is actually headlining Lollapalooza, I feel like we can look forward to more things like this, something that's different. They'll probably be doing individual projects, those that would like to do individual projects. But more than that, I think they're going to try to do different things now. I think they're going to try different genre. They're going to try different projects that will not just be limited to music shows and albums and music videos. I think they'll try something different. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be so different and something so unique that we have never seen from a K-pop artist or a K-pop band. So again, I would encourage everybody to to actually go back to all of their music videos and see the progression of their narrative, the progression of their stories. Consume as many content as you can that they have released. You know, the books that they released, the albums that they've released. If you can buy them, because that's going to provide you a better understanding and the depth of the storylines and the narrative that they have been telling from the beginning of their career. So yeah, excited to see what's next for BTS.